was raised, there wasn't no street lights, just pitch black and passing headlights. Where we met, there must have been dark signs, omens in your skies. Most days you reach for safety, remain calm, forget that you know me. When we met, I could see dark signs, alarm bells in your eyes. And I miss the man I was, the moment we left off. And I hate who I have become. Every time I wake up, and if you saw the marks on my dashboard, the new scars that I didn't ask for, would you call asking for answers? Tear my arms off. Most days you reach for safety, remain calm, forget that you know me. No, when we met, I could see dark signs, alarm bells in your eyes. And I miss the man I was, the moment we left off. And I hate who I have become. Every time I wake up, and I miss the man I was, the moment we left. And I hate who I have become. Every time I wake up. Well, my love is an animal call, cutting through the darkness, bouncing off the walls, between teeth on a broken jaw, following a blood trail, frothing at the mole. These days I'm a circuit board, integrated hardware you cannot afford. The perfect start to a perfect war, putting down the roses, picking up the sword. Aqua, Reader. Aqua, Reader. Well, my past is a holy book, a call from Olympus, ringing off the hook. Between the pain and the way you look, I'm stuck in a time where the mountains shook. And these days I'm a picture frame, screaming out the sunshine, singing in the rain. Sugar on the blood cells, carbon on the brain, out of Eden's vices running through my veins. Aqua, Regia, oxytocin running in the ether. Silicon, ballrooms, subatomic interactions if it's all good. Gold rush, acid flux, saturate me, I can't get enough. Cold.
Mission a fucking accomplished. Goon Swarm is not a threat.
Good luck with your old dumb nullsec war, snuffed out #1. Anunnaki Keepstar is next, and then come on.
There, and then you were just going to fucking magically jump into EVE Online in a system, and it was just going to load, and nobody was going to call you fucking stupid later?
There's an Eagle fleet that has dive bombed a Megatron fleet. This is the bravest shit I have ever seen in my life.
The best possible shot to do something to the Imperium, and you fucked it up.
I talked a lot of shit over the last couple months. It's time to fucking eat some. And I showed up here to eat shit. Like,
The reason that this keeps started and get contested, and I cannot make this up, is because of tie-dye.
Guess where goons are going to live after this war is over?
Current plan is 319, I believe, right?
Hell.
High sec.
I can tell you very
overreacting.
clearly, our Diplos didn't even fucking care. Like,
White daddy.
Good evening, investors. It is Sunday evening, and we have with us today some of New Eden's most excited investors, most excited pumpers and dumpers of coin, here to tell us their thoughts, whether all of us have played it or not, around CCP's opening gambit into a technology craze from a decade ago. And so today we have with us low-sec legend Baltrom.
Hello.
Who has put a fair amount of time into seeing what EVE Frontier is all about to try and get the hang of it. We also have Dr. Spodumain, who is no stranger to the numbers and how complex systems like this work. And hopefully today we're going to be able to get some opinion on what CCP appears to be trying to do, and hopefully perhaps what CCP says the game is going to be and what we reckon it actually is or might turn into, whether it is their real desires or not. How are you both?
I'm great.
Hello. Get traumatized by your flickering, actually. The last one was like a red smear. It was kind of scary.
It is getting more and more terrifying.
Is not doing too well today. It's a problem. I'm going to have to sort a little bit later.
It's not happening on stream.
It is happening on stream. It's absolutely happening on stream.
Oh.
Wait, watch. There it goes.
Yeah.
Anyway,
okay. Fair enough. Whatever.
Listen, I'll be straight up. I have not played. I have not logged into. I have not installed. I haven't given EVE Frontier a go at all. Redline, would that be the same situation with you?
Yes. I haven't played it. I think I am have the ability to play it. Just haven't actually installed it and done so.
And Spot, would I be right in saying that you have logged into it, but that might be about the limit of what your experience firsthand with the game?
Further than that, I played the second and third, and maybe fourth playtest. I didn't play them super religiously, but I definitely put double-digit hours, but sort of low double-digit hours into them.
Okay. And Baltrom, I know that something that you've been doing in there, something that you've been you at least were, if not are, looking forward to with that game is the PvP potential of it. How much time do you reckon you might have put into this alpha or even pre-alpha?
I actually have no idea because the first alpha I played a lot, right? Like every moment that I was not working, I was playing the first alpha or first cycle or whatever they call it.
Mhm.
And then on the following cycles, I played less and less and less. Mostly trying to PvP, and it's been getting harder and harder.
Okay.
Can we just
Well, that's
clarify something? 'Cause I'm a little bit
Yeah.
confused. But when you're talking about cycles and stuff like that, I feel like I think they changed the branding a bit. So are you talking about the tests since it's been named Frontier, or are you talking about the tests in like late 24 when it was still called Awakening?
I definitely played. Let me think. Actually, did I play before
just
moving
so
to
basically,
Berlin or
yeah,
after? I think I
roughly
played
when did you first
in
play it?
late. I think late 24.
I can't remember when they came out with they announced the branding.
I
So
have.
then that would have been around the third or fourth playtest then, because then they moved to the founder access, I believe. I might be completely wrong
I
on this,
definitely
but they
played
moved to the
before the
founder
founder
access. Then,
access, like when you only got it without paying anything. Like is when I
okay,
started
so we
playing. But
probably played it about the same time, at
I
least
have no
initially.
idea. There's like cycles and tests and things, and I don't care about that stuff. I just log in and I see what's up inside of the game. You know what's happening on the Discord
Yeah,
server,
I'm
how they
just trying to
brand, and
establish
going over my head.
whether we played the same thing,
Okay.
because it sounds like pretty much, yeah, we did. Well, you
Okay.
played the later ones as well, but I did not. I stopped in January.
Obviously, elephant in the room. The main thing, first of all, is that the overwhelming reaction from the Eve community, or at very least the portion of the Eve community that speaks out loud and puts
But
their
also
opinion out
can't
there.
read. Remember that part? They also can't read.
That also can't read. Well, let's get some clarification on that in a minute. Has been skeptical at best and extremely negative and perhaps mocking at the other end of the scale. Redline, do you feel with that statement that there is something that the community is missing about this game?
I feel like what the community is missing about the game, they hear the word blockchain and they immediately hate it because they think about the way that they tried to do NFT in EVE Online and their reaction to that. But I feel like this game blockchain differently. And I'm hoping one of these two folks on here can explain that so that the community knows that it's not a scam. They can make
Spod,
money here,
you're
real
shaking your
money.
head to this. Spod, I think that it looks like you have something to say about how you
Speak your
feel
truth, Spod.
CCP is using the blockchain
Speak your
with this
truth.
game.
It's using the blockchain. Okay, I kind of see what you mean. It is kind of different to a lot of other games that have tried to use the blockchain, but in the way that it's like kind of they're trying to force it into a game that already exists versus building a game from the ground up on it. I know they will claim otherwise, but that's kind of the reality. Because if you look at the way they've implemented things so far, it's kind of like a janky version of ESI. Obviously, the technicalities to it, with way you actually directly interact with it, is a little bit different. But the core sort of loop and purpose of the way the blockchain stuff is integrated with it is the same as any other game. There is a element within the game that consumes some kind of crypto token, and that's just how their economics work. They want you to put tokens in so that you can be consumed and get the things you want in the game. Rinse and repeat. That's the whole monetization plan. On the scam side, yeah, it's a massive fucking scam. It's not an intentional scam, but it's a scam because it's going to collapse and fall apart eventually.
Why would it be bound to collapse and fall apart?
Because if you believe what CCP is saying about it, and if they achieve what they want to achieve, which is essentially the blockchain can do anything. You can actually, one thing they kept saying was essentially to have your own client. So you wouldn't need the game client. You can just do it all through magical blockchain interactions, whether that's programming your own
like the way that
client.
you write your own software to interact with Eve through ESI.
Yeah, imagine ESI, but it's everything. Literally everything you can possibly do in the game, you can do through a programming interface of some kind. We won't get into the details of exactly how the blockchain works because it's not fucking relevant as much as people try and pretend it is. It's just not relevant. It's just a way to interact with the data in the game. And what they want to achieve, like I said, is full parity, full feature parity for third parties, which includes and is sanctioned and is accepted to include botting, to include full automation. And so once you've got
everything and by botting, do you mean that this direct programming interface with the game essentially allows you to interact with the game world as if it was like to fly a ship through this interface?
Yes. Anything a human being can do, that you can do through the blockchain. That's the explicit intention that they've made clear. And as I'm sure you can imagine, that's just a absolute, the slipperiest of slopes straight into, I'm going to horizontally scale 50 gazillion bots and just farm the crap out of anything.
Right.
And I know they try and push back on that by saying, oh, we got the different economics of like, oh, but you will need to invest certain amounts of token to get this, and then you need to do this and this, as in they're trying to balance it out by cost, which is, if you've played EVE, you know that doesn't work. And they're ignoring the fact that you can just scale the shit out of these things. There will be some costs, like a little bit of a blockchain thing of every time you do, well, not every time, but when you do something on the blockchain, particularly in the chain type that they're using, it costs gas, if you can think of it. It's a transaction fee, essentially. So you will need to input some money at some point to get the money to pay for the transaction fees. But what's clearly going to happen is botters are going to find some kind of balance where they put in a token, not in the crypto sense, but in the English literature sense, but yeah, a basic amount of resource in to get started.
Expenditure is easily overcovered by what they get back out of it.
They will bootstrap it with something inconsequential, and then their bots will off it goes and does what it's got to do and scales as it's got to scale. Yeah, they're not stupid. They will do some basic maths that says, if the thing I'm botting does not have an income higher than the cost of the gas to do the botting, pause the bot or do some other activity. But what that causes is any low-level activities that are easy and accessible, at least in the beginning, are just going to get wiped out because bots are going to do them. Why would you go and do basic mining as a parallel?
To that, I might say, and I know this is basically the point, right? Is what's the point in where is the game for somebody looking to play the game if it's all been botted out from underneath them in that case?
Well, I suppose the defense still comes back to that sort of gas fees and things like that. You can't, the human being doesn't have to pay those fees. You know, at least my understanding is they won't. You'll be playing the game. It doesn't cost you anything to play the game apart from your monthly subscription or whatever they end up finalizing the monetization on. So there might be an argument there, but it's kind of falls into the same category of bollocks. There's so much wrong with the monetization. There's a lot wrong with the source of the funding. It's all quite problematic.
Well, should we get to that in a moment? And we'll take a moment with you say.
I want to know what you can get out of this, like financially, because I'm a person who, when Diablo 3 came out and it had its real money auction house, I was all over it. I remember I sold a Windforce bow for $250. It was a great fucking day. Is there anything like that in EVE Frontier where I can pull money out of it?
Yes, but no.
Well, I suppose that what you can pull out of it is something that supposedly people will want to pay real money for. You'd be generating something that is an in-game resource or coin, for lack of a better phrase, and the way that you would get real money out of it is whatever you have generated, somebody else is supposedly going to want enough to pay you real money for it.
Right, so I would sell that to other players to play the game, essentially.
Well, here's the question then.
Priorities fully allowed, essentially.
Is there anything that we can be sure of in the game that is going to make people want to buy this?
What do you mean by
Is
this?
the game
By what?
fun? Is the game fun to play?
Well, this is what I want to talk about. I want to talk about what's the game like. What's it like playing the game, and that's something
Maybe
that, you know,
maybe
Baltrom can have a word on.
I'll step in here. I played a bit, okay? I
A
don't have
bit.
as much insight into like blockchain and anything. I try to ignore that. Like the way I, just to, give maybe the idea of a oblivious gamer here. The way I look at it is, I don't care about any tokens. To me, it's like Plex, right? There's people playing EVE Online, farming ISK, and then selling it for real money, and CCP knows it, and like, who fucking cares, right? Like RMT is rampant, okay? And when it comes to the gameplay itself, to the monetization part, what I think is cool, it's not just assets, but also services, right? Most of the star systems in the current playtest, for example, which I think for me personally was the worst yet I played, there's basically no stargates, okay? But there's like a trillion fucking solar systems. The map is way too big. And you have to build your own stargates, protect them, fuel them, manage them, service them, whatever, okay? And then you can allow people to use your stargates, right? Like jump bridges in EVE Online. I don't know how they work. I don't care. But in this game, you can give permission. And you can do it with an out-of-game tool, right? Like you can make like an out-of-game web page that is linked to the whole blockchain thing. And people can pay the, let's call it just EVE token for now, like the EVE token on your web page, and they get access for their account to your Stargate chain in game. Okay, so that is actually, I think, kind of a curious
It is
idea.
actually called EVE token.
Huh? It's what?
It is actually called EVE
Yeah,
token.
I think it's called EVE token as well. I just wasn't sure, and I was like,
Okay.
before I say shit, I'll just make up something. But with this token, you can buy things out of the game to gain access to services in the game offered by players, like infrastructure they built, and you access that infrastructure if they want you to pay for it with this EVE token. When it comes to the gameplay itself, right? First playtests I played, or cycles, like I have no idea about the branding, okay? Was like late 24. And it was a very small map. Like the first map we played on was like, I don't know, as many stars, I think, as I had fingers on my hands, so I could actually keep up. Second playtest was a bit bigger, let's say, I don't know, 100, 200 solar systems, right? Which is like way too small, obviously, but very playable with like the limited amount of players. PvP was
for
very...
a concept.
Yeah, good for a concept to test the concept, yeah? I'll talk about the PvP in a second, or like the gameplay that I experienced and what I think is really cool about it. The later playtests and cycles or whatever, and the one that I'm playing right now, or that I'm not playing rather, the map is too big. There's like 8 trillion stars, right?
20,000.
It's too much. Like I cannot find a single player. Like there's some starting areas where there is people. If you choose the wrong starting area, I played 2 weeks. We have seen 1 player, right? So I can't tell you if the game is fun or not, because there's nothing to do for me as somebody who wants to engage in PvP activities.
So
when
just
it comes
to kind of interrupt there.
Yeah.
So they've built it for the people that, like Dr. Spot we're talking about, want to scale this game horizontally with automation. Like that's the plan. That's the goal. They've built 20,000 systems, 20,000 plus, to make it nearly impossible to interact with another player, so that you can just create your little farm and do your thing. But if you do have to, is the engagement fun? Like, is the gameplay fun?
So what I like about the gameplay, okay, and this is something that I really like, and this is why I like, before this playtest now, there was like where I just could not find any players, okay? What I thought was really cool was it felt like it is a modern, like, let's leave all the blockchain shit away, okay? Let's just think it doesn't exist, okay? Let's just talk gameplay. It's a modernized take on EVE Online that has no legacy code, okay, where it's like we cannot remove pauses, otherwise our fucking server crashes. And the way I mean this is, you have, what's the most impressive thing to me, I think, is the fact you have line of sight, okay? Line of sight matters, actually. Not just from like you can hide behind stations, collidables, asteroids, whatever, right? but you can also hide behind ships. Meaning, if like it's basically like EVE Online. Like you see a ship, you lock it up, and then you cycle your guns, and the guns shoot. In EVE Online, it's just it's not even a hit scan. Like the gun just tells you, like the map says, you hit for so and so much damage. In Frontier, on the other hand, I don't know how it works exactly, but it checks if there's something in between. If there's an asteroid in between, your shot will hit that asteroid, and it will report to you, you hit that asteroid, little bro, even though you had luck.
Effectively, it's physically simulating the path
Exactly.
of the shot.
Also, ships, right? Like imagine you're like I don't know, like a cruiser orbiting tightly around a battleship, holding it tackled, and your brothers are like 50k away, and they're plumping into that battleship. Every time your cycle comes in line with your boys shooting from range, you can catch their shots, right? Which is very interesting, I think. Also means you can't have 200 people anchor up and multi-box 10 accounts because they're all going to blast each other out of the fucking sky the moment as DFC says shoot, you know? Which I think is very, very, very interesting. Also, fuel. There's a fuel system that your ship needs for everything. Red line? Yeah?
We just did I think we did
Hello?
lose all of our connection briefly.
What was that?
No, you're good. Sorry, I was
It
just I had my
dumped
finger
me
up
out
for a
of the
second.
channel.
You just keep
Yeah, sorry, go on.
on
Carry
right
on,
ahead.
sorry, yeah.
What?
I heard you up to I heard the whole thing, Baltrom, up until you were like red.
Baltrom's not
But
there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Am I here? Hello?
Whatever.
Hello, yeah,
Okay.
hello.
Ignore me.
Okay, also what I think is really cool is the fuel system. A lot of people really hate it. I think I played with like some of the Hydra gamers in the playtest we did the most PvP. And I think the way fuel worked for us was very cool. Like your noob ship, it doesn't have infinite fuel, but you can refuel for free in any station. Okay, like basically running your prop mod or just moving or shooting your guns or using your mining laser consumes fuel. You can dock in a station and refuel for free, no big deal. The moment you use anything bigger than your noob ship, you have to use farmed fuel, like fuel that you actually farm outside in space.
You mean like a second type of fuel?
Yeah. There's like different levels of fuel for different levels of engines that you need for different sizes of spaceships. It's like a power core providing power grid, right? Like fitting space to your ship, and also at the same time, it takes a specific type of fuel. But outside of that, it's very interesting when it comes to how you move on the map, because first, like the playtest we did the most PvP on, map was very small, and we were sitting like, I don't know, 5 boys living very close to what at the time was a very large blob, right? Like 50 players, which in EVE terms is not even a small gang corp.
It's
but,
a different game. It's a different game. Yeah.
For a playtest, it was like for the sizes that were happening, it was a big blob, 50 people, right? And we knew exactly where they live. And we know they all live there because stations don't really exist, right? You can build your own stuff now, but back then you couldn't. And stations were very rare. So we knew where the fuel fields were, or where like rare materials sometimes spawned, or other points of interest. And they want to go there as well. So when we see somebody there, or when we see somebody coming from that direction towards their home space, right? We know they're probably low on fuel. Right? We know they can't just blast their modules and go nuts. They have to conserve fuel, right? So the whole how you move on the map and how you use your fuel, and what seeing somebody in a specific point of the map and knowing where they live means to you, I think has a lot of impact if you know how to, I don't know, like understand how fuel works in this game. I don't know what I'm trying to say with this, but you can sort of like it offers more like piracy opportunities, I guess, right? Catching people low on fuel as well.
I tell you what, it sounds like they're fixed projection in this game.
Yeah.
Well,
to some degree, right? Like the current playtest is very curious.
It sounds painful.
Sure.
So if there's 20,000 systems, that system, the fuel system, where you have to continuously put into the game, but then you're finding no one to actually with, that sounds awful.
Yeah, that's the thing. In the current iteration, as I said, it's too many. Like for the amount of players playing, there's too many people. It's really easy to get fuel now. Every ship currently, I don't know if they changed it again. I haven't played for, I don't know, 2 weeks or so. I was on holiday. Every ship comes with a jump drive, like a capital in EVE Online. Every ship comes with a jump drive, and you don't even need a Sino. You just select system and jump. Yeah. That burns a lot of fuel, but it's also very easy to find and create fuel currently. So I think maybe they're testing like other concepts currently. I have no insight. I'm only interested in finding people and blowing them up, which is very impossible for me, at least right now, right? Because I chose the wrong starting area, so I'm at the wrong side of the fucking map. And I don't feel like starting all over again just because it turns out I didn't spawn where everybody else spawned, right?
Can't
So what's
you
the
like
same?
go over there?
I can go over there, but it takes so much. It would take me, like, I'm literally on the other side of this gigantic galaxy.
I mean,
That would
can you
take me
move
so
there?
much
Can you
time.
just move there and just stay?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
can
could
you
just move
set
there,
your
but the thing
home?
is, I can't just set my home. Like, I would have to, like, not sino because you jump without sinos, right? You just like I have to. There's no stargates either. Jump over a couple systems, then I don't know, find fuel, blah blah blah. Put up like a little self-built station and make new fuel, and then refuel myself, and then jump again and do this for what feels like probably, I don't know, 2 days of playing 10 hours a day or something, and I just don't feel like doing it, you know. And that's it. Like, I'm not that motivated to cross the entire galaxy just because they decided to put like a
Well,
million stars.
what kind of things beyond like the branding and the ship models and things like that? What things are the same as regular EVE Online in this?
Same.
Mm.
I don't know. Like,
I mean, do they have blasters and autocannons and?
yeah, they
And
have, but
yes and
it's yes and no. It's like yes, but also no. Like, I don't know, small autocannons reach out to like 100K or something. So I don't know, dude. It's
they're called something else now, aren't they?
yeah.
It's a yes and no because like everything is the same, but also nothing is because everything has had a little bit of a tweak. Like industry is kind of the same, but kind of not. Like the market is kind of the same, but kind of not. There's little changes to everything. To sort of mention, just that you were talking earlier about like the line of sight. A couple of other technical achievements that they did that were actually quite impressive. The tick rate is way up. I think it's like 5 or 10 or something like that. For reference, Eve was 1, so Eve updates what's going on once a second, whereas Frontier is a multiple of that. So like your modules react much quicker, your movement reacts much quicker. It lets you actually have that much more fast-paced everything about the game. And alongside that, one thing they also did, this is a weird one to explain, but ships now actually have a direction. So like in Eve,
is the shape of them physically simulated and relevant now?
Yes, I believe so. Yes.
Eve
So like
does
in
not have
Eve,
front or back. Yeah, I know.
yeah, Eve, you don't have a direction. Your ship is a ball. Yeah. Whereas in Frontier, one example that kind of gives it away is like if you're flying straight down and then you stop. If you stop in Eve, your ship will eventually like come back to level. In Frontier, it will continue pointing the direction it was pointing, which is relevant now because of the physics are a little bit different. So like aligning and just the orientation of your ship is different. So actually pointing a certain way has meaning. And it also, I believe it also kind of affects how you sort of carry, not explained this way well, but like how you carry speed and momentum like around corners. So the way you maneuver, so the way you move feels a little bit different because they've changed the physics there and actually updated them and made them a bit more good. They are better.
We have a relevant question here in the chat. It says, do the ships have proper hitboxes? I might extrapolate on that and say, is the ship model really simulated? Is the model simulated rather than it just being you're hitting the ship?
I believe it is a hitbox that is like, I don't know whether it's like polygon perfect, but there will be a hitbox, yes, because that's the whole thing
roughly similar to the shape of the ship.
Yeah, I think they have referenced
exactly.
like being able to shoot through. Yeah,
assume.
That would assume that in theory, it's possible. Given that it has line of sight, it has a fairly simulated model hitbox of the ship. It would that would imply that it is not outside the realm of possibility for CCP to let this behave a bit like a first-person shooter in space. except you are a ship rather than a person. You
Well,
know,
yeah,
that you could aim the guns and fire them manually. You know.
I don't
to
think
some
that's happening.
extent,
You can't even stack guns in this game.
Okay.
no, but to some extent that has happened. That's okay. I've not played it for a while, so things might have changed. But they have moved the camera to be much closer in, to almost like a third-person view. And for a while, they were experimenting with the direction of your ship following your mouse. I don't know whether they still do that, but they are definitely pushing towards far more direct control over your ship versus Eve's just like clicking a direction and it goes that way. This says there's far more control there.
Well, one thing I'm kind of feeling from what you're both saying here is that this is definitely not as simple as they cloned Eve and crowbarred blockchain style mechanics into
No.
Eve here.
It was on day one,
Yeah,
but they have genuinely put work into it. Yeah, of course, yeah, they've changed a lot.
major replacements of systems.
Yeah, I think it really, like, if you leave all the blockchain stuff out, what you think about it, how they implement it, it's like nonstop changing as well, right? It's like I would call it like what I mean with it, modern take on Eve is if Eve didn't release 2004, but if Eve released 2020, 25, I don't fucking know, right? But it's like basically all this like really old stuff that is in Eve that they can't get out is taken out, and it's like Eve Online, except not from 20 years ago. You know what I mean?
It very much feels like regular Eve Online is like issuing vague commands to your ship, and your ship does what you asked it to do, rather than you are flying your ship.
Yeah,
and you know, that works great. That works great for this type of game. But this sounds like it gives you a lot more control.
Are there any
I do
sovereignty
find that
mechanics?
kind of weird, actually.
Are there what?
Are there any sovereignty mechanics?
There is sovereignty. I think I've seen sovereignty on like some things you can build, like the name being mentioned. I think, but it's hard to tell. Like, there's no sovereignty mechanic so far that I've experienced, right? I see it, like, I think I saw it on some modules or some things you can build in space, but we're not sure, or at least I wasn't sure, if this is just because they copy pasted it over and forgot to delete it, right? Like delete this part of the text, or if this is something that is to come. I don't know, right? Because there's clearly some things that they just out of convenience copy pasted over from Eve, like literally, like not game mechanics wise, but like just, I don't know, like info on a ship, like how it's presented, it's copy pasted over, and sometimes they just forgot to delete the text that is clearly only relevant in Eve and does not exist in Eve Frontier. So
yeah, they copied the entire game and then they extracted things out. Like, I'd hope they've patched it by now, but a little exploit you could do in the earlier ones was use your notepad and copy paste skills over from the base game, and then you could train like armor skills and weapon skills to get more damage that are technically not supposed to be available, because they've revamped the skills. Actually, how do the skills work now? Actually, that's a good question. I can't remember.
No skills. There is no skills.
There's just none. Okay.
There's like, I mean, unless they changed it again, right? Because like right now it's an alpha. Okay, I think this is very important to say as well. It's an alpha. Everything's changing all the time, non-stop. Last time I played, there was no skills. There was just modules, and what could you acquire, and whatever you had, you could use, right? And it was more about, can you acquire this module and make it fit? And if you do so, or the ship, right, or the station, or the Stargate, if you do, you can use it. If you don't, you cannot. But then again, on your character sheet somewhere, there's talk about skills, but there's no skills in the game. Is this because skills are coming and not implemented yet, or is it copy pasted over from Eve and they forgot to delete the word skills? Right?
It'll be a copy paste. They haven't extracted it yet.
Well, I mean,
that was how that exploit worked. Is they just hadn't deleted the base game skills.
It's supposed to represent any sort of. If it's supposed to hold any candle to Eve Online, it absolutely has to have skills in it, because skills are like the core functionality of it.
To be fair, it's not supposed to be Eve, though, isn't it?
I mean,
it's supposed to be its
kind
own
of
game
is
in its own right.
Well, it's
having
I
it
would
cleaned
assume,
up.
to be fair, it's trying to take what they feel are the exciting parts of Eve and make Eve 2 to some extent.
Having
I
skills
don't
cleaned
sort
up, I could
know that
see,
I
but
could-
completely removed, not so much.
But I guess because to paraphrase something that Hilmar said in one of the early presentations during one of the playtests was, and maybe it's a little bit out of context, but it was the gist that I took from it was that Frontier was how Hilmar wanted Eve to be, but couldn't because of technical limitations and the community backlash. So yes, it is
Well,
like Eve, but not because
Concerning
let's talk about this though.
Concerning skills, by the way, I want to go like one more time back to skills. I think there's like different takes on skills in EVE as well. Like I personally think skills in EVE Online 15 years ago, very cool thing, right? Especially when you could lose skill points if you didn't update your clone and died, it mattered, right? Today, it's like imagine like you're an old player, then you're just sitting on what you acquired over the years in skill points or what you managed to buy with Plex and then inject, or I don't fucking care. But if you're a new player, skills is just a massive wall that you need to climb over to enter the game, right? If you're part of some gigantic blob and some FC tells you to hop into a griffin or whatever, I don't know what the current meta is to do, to tell the newbies to do, fair enough. But if you want to do anything, like it just feels like what's the point of skills in EVE 2025, right? Like I don't fucking know. Apart from like,
I think that you're partly right in that, you know, right now in 2025,
if you're a new player,
one
make money or
important
buy
thing about
Plex.
skills. Well, one important thing about skills in their current form is that it definitely feels like insurmountable to a new player to feel like they even have the potential to catch up. It would feel to a new player right now that they're being held back from flying that
Hold on.
cool battle cruiser.
Wait
Go on,
a
Redline,
second.
sorry.
So, EVE Online, Phantomite, when did you start playing?
2007.
Baltrom?
I don't know, 2007, and then I didn't really like. Yeah, 2007 is probably when I started.
Bod?
2009, I think.
Okay. So I started in 2008. I'm the newest player here. I started after the advent of skill injectors and everything. It did not seem insurmountable. It was just a thing. So,
Of
like,
course, but think of
as recently as that long ago, it wasn't like that.
One aspect I want to move on to a second aspect here. So bear with me through this first aspect, right? First aspect is Eve doesn't let you be like maximum ownage. I can kill everybody if you just inject all the skill points as a new player and get into, you know, a Titan and start killing other capitals, right? Because at that level, far more important than the skill points and the ISK is actually having a level of, I don't like to say this word, but wisdom of how the game actually works, what to expect, how it works socially, how to pilot your ship accurately, tactics with how you fit your ship. Almost all of that is in your mind. It's only a small portion at that level that is in your skill points and your ISK to be able to acquire the ship and fly it, right?
And that's why I'm saying skill points don't really matter. They're just like a weird wall.
However, certain types of ships, let's say, for example, a Ferox is extremely easy to fly as part of a large fleet. Now, if regular EVE Online dumped skill points and relied on listen, your experience is your ability to be good at this game, then what it would do is it would allow extremely low player skill actions that instantly give vast power to large groups. Like, if there were no skill points, you could just roll a character and be in a Ferox. Then you could roll a character for every region in the game and leave it there, and you could have your alliance be at full force anywhere you want, anytime, because you have 30,000 people who all have a character in each region, so you can fly your 1,000 Feroxes anywhere, anytime, instantly, right? And that would be a big downside of not having a skill point barrier.
Okay. The way I look at this is you're still there's still a barrier, which is the ships, right? In case of a Ferox, it's like no big deal. In case of like, I don't know, 1,000 capitals, it's maybe for some groups a thing, to be like, okay, this is quite a lot. For some groups, it's like, that's just, another day at the office. In this game right now, in Frontier, I feel like, I don't know if they're planning skills. I haven't kept up with what's going on, what they're planning, or the leaks or whatever. It's like, there's only the ships that you need to acquire. And to me, it feels really good because it felt pretty hard to acquire the ships and the modules to it. And when you lose it, it's like Eve, it's gone, right? You need to do it all over again.
Yes.
And I have
To spin that
felt.
to a
Sorry?
tangent, how do you feel about the fact that the ships are functionally paywalled?
But how are they paywalled?
Because for certain ships, higher tier ships require higher tier fuels, and those higher tier fuels can only be obtained through a process that involves input of the crypto token. Therefore, they are paywalled.
You can
Or at
acquire
least the
it with.
fuel is paywalled,
I
but
mean, that's the point of the game, right? As long as you
Right.
can actually extract it out for money in real life, I mean, that's fine because you can put it into, flying the better ships, make money with
Well,
it.
this is an interesting point, though, right? So the technical ability for you to make real money from the in-game resources is one thing, but of course you need to have a buyer, and to have a buyer, you need to have
Players.
you need to have players. So what is in this game for the players? If almost everybody is encouraged to approach the game with a money-making mindset rather than a gameplay mindset.
Sounds like making money, isn't it, for the player?
Well, one way to think of it, though, imagine if CCP woke up tomorrow and they said in Eve, RMT is legal. Now, what would happen? Everyone would start selling their shit, right?
No,
The
nothing would
problem that
change.
caused. No, I'm not saying everybody will sell their shit. Just saying like more stuff will be sold because it's now okay, right? I'm not saying this is affecting the game economy. This is not the problem. Problem is the supply has now gone through the fucking roof. I don't see how the demand will jump to match. So at the moment, if you Google it, I won't tell you the exact terms to Google. The current RMT rates for the ISK is like anywhere from $2 to $4 a billion. That's going to drop to like 20 cents.
Good.
So no, I'm not saying that's necessarily a bad thing, but the problem that causes is now if you're slaving away to get ISK because you want to make money, real money, you're now having to do 20 times as much work to get any kind of value out of it. You need to be making hundreds of billions a week to afford a pizza. So the value proposition now is kind of fucked. What's the point of putting that much effort into it? And hopefully, maybe it's a good thing if that.
Then people stop doing it. The supply goes down, demand stays the same, prices go up. It is a market economy.
Except where it will level out. Where it will level out is a amount of income that is so low that it will only be accomplished fully automated in countries which have basically no cost to electricity.
Yeah.
And nobody in any of the entire Western world will have a sniff at making any useful amount of money.
Well, that's not going to be
hit
true.
One of two floors.
Because that's not how it works.
It is true. It is true. You'll hit one of two floors. There are active examples where this happened. You got fucking Axie Infinity. You either hit the floor of the minimum automation value, or you hit the minimum slave fucking labor value. That's why you have Filipino dudes sitting there playing Axie Infinity all day, because if you can't fully automate Frontier, you'll just have Filipino dudes playing Frontier all day for $1 a month, just to knock out enough Eve token and then sell it on the market. You have to remember that unfortunately this world is shit, and people that get paid and mistreated awfully exist, and they will be exploited, and they will be exploited to play this game and to make money through it. And the only way to make money through that as a Western asshole that wants to have a fucking yacht is you horizontally scale. So you either horizontally scale through bots or horizontally scale through wage slaves, and that's just what's going to happen because that's just how the world works. Unfortunately,
this is capitalism. This is the
yeah.
movement over the decades of, in a very relevant, spicy way at the moment, the movement of manufacturing from, family, bringing up a family paying job in America to places in China where they build the iPhone in a factory where they put nets in so that they can catch people trying to kill themselves because it's a hellhole.
Maybe CCP's a genius because you can't tariff EVE token.
I mean, here's the thing,
No.
right?
I will
is
put a
if
tariff
you've
to the EVE token in game.
if you've got if you're in a shitty world where shitty things are going to happen anyways, then so be it. Like you have to account for that. But at the end of the day, the question remains is, if do you think that once this game is fully fledged, there's a way to make money from it, like there was like the Diablo 3 real money auction house? Because I'll tell you
There will be
this,
briefly.
There will be briefly, much like a pump and dump scam.
I absolutely support play for pay, like whatever you want to call it. I think RMT should be legal
Like
in
the-
EVE Online as long as it flows through CCP, so they get a cut and they can monitor transactions for
Well,
legitimacy.
good news. It is
It
legal
won't.
through that is how it
No,
works
no, 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 no,
currently
no.
with Plex.
No, it's
That is
only coming
through-
in. It's only coming in. It's not going out. I would like to turn my Plex into I would like to turn my Plex into USD. I need a mechanism through which to do so. The
and
problem
somebody
is
in
that
a third world
CCP
country will undercut you and make it not worth your time.
Let's not talk about the morals here because like,
there is no undercutting.
It's not morals. That's economics.
So like, think about it. Think about it like this. Have you ever played World of Warcraft? Are you familiar with the WoW token? That is something that is completely based on Blizzard. Like you get $15 if you buy a WoW token, basically. But why can't I
No, but
just
it's
have
not
the
gonna be policed
$15?
like that. I don't disagree. I would love if Plex was bi-directional, but it's not going to be like that with Frontier. With Frontier, it's a token that you now own and control and trade on your
Right.
own. So it's
Well,
it's a free market. Do
Yeah,
what
with
the fuck you want
Frontier,
with it.
it's going to be based on how many people are playing it. But like, the more people are playing it, the more buying of this token that there needs to be. So as long as the supply is always less than the demand, then the price continues to rise. And I think that's kind of the point. But you're right. The thing is that it can collapse completely. The floor can fall out from under it. And I imagine that it would do so rather quickly, as long as it's as scarce as Baltrom is saying. Now, if it has a lot of players in it, like I'm talking a lot more than the 30,000 that are playing EVE right now, that's a different story. But then you're talking, that's a pipe dream for something like this.
But the problem with the player count is because it's got this play to earn tag to it. You are attracting far larger an audience than the game would naturally attract, which is
And you're
not actually a
attracting
good
almost
thing.
exclusively people who are
Exactly,
looking
so-
to be the seller of the coin, not the buyer.
Yeah,
You-
because
But
you're getting
that's the
people that
thing
want
is
to
that
play.
in order to sell the coin, you have to buy it. Like you have to make it somehow. And in order to make it, you have to have it. So like you'll always be buying the coin.
You have to play the game to play the game, right? And to interact with this coin, I guess you could interact maybe with it from the outside as well, since it's a coin and you can just buy it. But in game, you will have to log in, have a reason to use that coin, and then do something with that coin or sell it again. And when it comes to what you do in game, because you asked, is there a reason to even play this game apart from like the coin? It's EVE, right? It's PvP. It gives you like the shakes. Like you work for your ship and your modules, and you go out and you fucking explode because you're an idiot. Okay. It's the same as anything. People haul expensive things, and you want to blow them up, and you blow them up because they didn't watch out, and kadoosh, boom, you have their stuff.
Here's a point I'd like to make about this, right? And this is a direct parallel with regular EVE Online. What we know that we have seen since the Citadel era in EVE is that it is most profitable, ISK-wise, not real money-wise, that's another conversation. It is most profitable, ISK-wise, to stabilize as much as possible. It's far more in the interests of the big blocks in EVE Online to blue up and be stable and never have a threat to the empire than it is to go to war and potentially risk losing that. Now, if the incentive in Frontier is to make a bunch of money, is that not going to even more hyper emphasize stability and therefore not notable combat?
Hello?
Not to
Hello?
derail, but there
Oh.
was something I wanted to touch on before we moved on to that, if you don't mind.
Yes, of
I
course.
just want to clarify that the token itself is just that is the vehicle of value. So the problem with all these farmers or whatever, whether they're human or bot coming along, isn't necessarily that the token value will go up and down. Who the fuck knows what it'll do? Who cares? It's that the token is exchanged for goods in the game. So they're going to farm the shit out of the goods in the game or the services in the game. And so now you have an economic crash within the game. It's not a coin crash we're worried about. That's coming later with the pump and dump. It's the economic crash within the game because you've got now these bots that are desperate to farm ISK so that they can buy whatever ding dongs they need to buy to trade for whatever flim flams to trade for crypto tokens.
Not ding dongs and flim flam. Anything but those.
Yeah, that was the point I wanted to
It's
make.
literally a MacGuffin, but yeah.
A MacGuffin? Oh no.
Yeah. I mean, my point is that if the risk of war, which is one of the greatest parts of EVE Online, if the risk of war is not as appealing to you as the profit from stability, then doesn't that just increase so much more if there's real money involved? Isn't we want to control things and keep it chill rather than have gameplay content, isn't that increased when there's real money involved?
I would probably say yeah, but also I would say that the number of people wanting to decrease the stability and take away from those people would also increase. So it
How's
would
that
create
working out for
conflict.
regular EVE Online though, Redline?
Well, the thing is
definitely
in EVE Online, there's no reason for anyone to take someone's space anymore because I'm not going to say all of the space is the same, but that's what because all the space is the same. I hate giving you a point every time I say that, but that's why. There's no reason for me to fight my neighbor unless it's for fun.
I mean, I don't want to, I just want to use what we see in regular EVE Online as an example, and except EVE Frontier does have an incentive to make real money.
If there was a giant,
must lead to stability.
If there was a multi-trillionaire within EVE Online who said, "Hey, listen, I will give you X amount of money for every goon kill mail, every goon structure, da 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 da," I can guarantee you that everyone will go to war against goons, kill everything that they have. Correct, it happened. As long as it's enough money. But that's the thing is like right now, if you look at Warfare in nullsec, it's not worth doing because it takes 14 hours to kill a Keepstar, right? That's the thing, and it's in 10% tie-dye, which sucks. Phantomite, you experienced this firsthand because you wanted to stream the Keepstar fight, but you didn't even realize that it was happening because you had logged out. Rookie mistake. Once you're in, you never log out. But that's the thing is like that kind of gameplay isn't fun unless there's something that makes it worth it. And that's the thing.
What
if
you're
there
saying
was
is very relevant. If you want to steer away from regular,
I just had a really I don't know if it's a crazy thought or if this is like obvious, okay? But we're talking about like Spod talked about botters or people in fucking I don't know somewhere Asia farming their fucking life away, right? Somewhere cheap, like slave labor, okay? Or bots slaving away for us, okay? But not all of these botters, not all of these slaves work for the same man in a suit, okay? It's different mans in suits, okay? And they have different empires within this EVE Frontier game. And they're like, you know what? These people, with their creation of their money, are threatening our profits. So here on our website, you can post your kill mails of structures of that corporation, and for each kill mail with value X, you get token amount X as a payback in the game that you can then use in game or make to money, right? Like it basically legalizes, I think as well, conflict for real money paid by like slave laboring fucking space video game warlords, which is crazy but epic if I think about it right now.
That is kind
It's
of
kind of fucked up.
that
It's
is
fucked up,
really
but it is what
that
it is.
that is fucked up, but it does sound kind of epic. I'm not gonna
Yeah, I
lie.
said it's fucking epic, dude.
Like, but I don't think it's gonna be like that. I hope it's not.
It
I mean,
is.
I guess it
Dude, you
So
talked
it
about
doesn't
you talked
matter
about
at this
WoW
at any
earlier,
point.
right? You talked about World of Warcraft earlier. I know
Yeah.
for a fact that the botting warlords in WoW and the farming warlords in WoW are in open war with each other, and that's fucking World of Warcraft. Like a fucking what do you call it? Like EVE is a sandbox, WoW is a theme park MMO, right? So there's not even that much room for conflict. But these like RMT warlords are at war with each other in WoW in a game that doesn't even offer those opportunities for conflict, right? So I can definitely see this happening.
Shall we talk about then why it's either not going to get to that point, or
Of course, I have no
Well,
idea about
if
the
it
blockchain,
does,
by
it
the
won't
way.
last
This
very
is me
long.
just like
So
making up
maybe this
shit.
leads into it. Maybe this leads into it. Spod. Maybe this leads into it, right? So
Depends if you know where I'm going.
let me know if you think this is in the same direction. If we look for a second at meme coins and pump and dump scams, they work by repeatedly attracting people and convincing people that they are not the bottom layer of the pyramid, when in reality they are the bottom layer of the pyramid. It is essentially saying to them, look, we know how these coins go. They have a spike in value as everybody's excited, and then all of the people in the know, wink, you and me, right? You and me will sell our coins to the rubes below us, and we'll make all the money. But
Nice bag,
every single person who sees it on the stream and is like being convinced that they are not the bottom level of the pyramid, thinks that they are going to be the one to make all the money, when really they're just the ones spending the money.
We're the ones playing the game.
So I think
Yeah.
the difference here,
How do you know
Phantomite,
you're not being conned
here's-
into doing that with this game?
here's the thing, Phantomite, is that what you're
Yeah.
describing with like the regular pump and dump meme coins, you don't get anything out of those except for owning the coins as you purchase them.
Okay, that's,
With
that's
this-
meme coins. So I'm talking
with
about pump
this-
and dump coins then.
Right, but with this, you are purchasing the coin to play the game, essentially. So like, however
So-
many players are
Yeah, but the
wanting
game is
to play the game.
The game is screaming at the top of its voice, you can make money here, and that's how everybody is going to approach it.
Well, the
I
thing
want
is
the-
that even though you can make money, you have to put money in to get money out.
Right, that sounds like a "you're not the bottom level of the pyramid, I promise, mate" scheme.
Yeah, none of this fucking matters because
Never gonna
of the
get
elephant
there.
in the room that is the $40 million investment, which, if you just read through CCP's public financial papers, is very clearly a token pre-sale to A16Z and friends. The reason that's a problem is because A16Z and friends have a well-established pattern. And I wouldn't necessarily it's malicious from the outset, but what happens is what happens is they invest in upcoming crypto game by buying a bunch of tokens for said crypto game, help develop crypto game, hype said crypto game comes out, doesn't matter whether it's good or bad, crypto game comes out, price of token spikes, investors say, right, I want my fucking super yacht, cash out all of their tokens, destroy the economy for the game, and fuck off. Not because they intentionally wanted to sabotage the game, but because they want their yacht and they don't give a shit about the game. That has happened multiple times, like double-digit number of times with A16Z, and they're doing the exact same fucking thing with EVE. It's just literally what's happening. It's just like plain as day. It's their playbook, and they fucking whispered in Hilmar's ear for a couple of years until he was convinced to fall for this fucking trap. That's the thing I find sad about this whole thing, apart from the lights just switched off, is that in some ways I don't see this as I see this as a scam, but I don't see this as a scam where the target is EVE players or the public. This is a scam where the target is CCP. It is crypto bros and pump and dumpers laundering what's, I mean, yeah, you can shut on them if you want, but CCP's reputation in order to pull off another rug pull, another scam. Because all they'll do is wait for Frontier to come out, the token to spike, sell their 40 million of tokens, or however many they've got. The economy will crash, the game will become irrelevant, and all of the botters or anyone else that's actually keeping the game alive with a basic amount of economic activity will fuck off to the next game, and the cycle will repeat. CCP will be in tatters because everyone will look at them and go, hey, they did a big rug pull, they're dickheads, let's never trust them again. Rinse and repeat. It's just a story that's been played out and again and again and again and again. And CCP is the mark, and they have been fooled because Hilmar likes his bitcoins because he thinks it's going to save the
Yeah, I
world
would
or
like
some
to
shit.
say, by the way, Hilmar is an idiot.
Wow.
I
Well,
don't know
and I
what
mean,
kind of words I can use here, But
so now that sounds awful, like, on paper, right? A big old rug pull. But like I say, again, unlike the meme coins and things like that, this is something where you also get to play the game with the token. So if the token is cheaper, that means you can play the game more. So if there's people that are actually interested in playing the game, then they'd have the opportunity to do so.
But I mean, I've
And they
already,
still
I've
have
already
their setups and
proposed.
this is
I've already proposed my opinion that the game is being advertised in a manner to tell all potential players and instill in their minds that this game is a way to make money, not that this is a game to play as a game.
Well,
way I
I
look at
don't
this,
think that
right,
it's being
from the
advertised.
start.
Hold on one second. Just let me counter him for one moment.
Sure.
I think that this isn't being advertised as a way to make money. It's that you can make money from playing the game. It's not a get rich quick thing.
Same thing.
No, it's really not, because there's a difference between a get rich thing where there's a pump and dump. That's different than actually investing proper time and everything into the game to get something out of it over time, like a gradual thing, not a one hit and you're done type deal.
In every single presentation, Hilmar would say the phrase "play to earn every 30 fucking seconds." It's a get money scheme.
But it's not
that
get rich
is
quick.
The game being advertised primarily as a you can make money here rather than a you can have a game to play here.
But
the way I approach the game is there is no coin, right? The coin is just, the way I look at it, it's just like Plex. I don't look at it as like, I want to play this and try get rich. It's just like, hey, I love EVE Online, or I used to love it. I think EVE Online in its current state, for me, is lost its like, there's nothing interesting to do, right? And EVE Online is clearly, like, once you played it long enough, it's a very fucking bad game, okay? Like, the game is fucking horrible if you actually think about it. Like, it's based on a 1000 ms ping, right? That's fucking nuts.
Well, that's a mechanics thing you're bringing up, but that's, if you don't like that,
No, but
that's
this
valid.
is like, oh, look at this. Like, I'm getting a modern EVE Online, a game that I remember used to love, and there's like a fresh start with potentially new players and more players, and it's a game I like to play, and maybe this is gonna be fun. That's the way I look at it. And the whole cryptocurrency thing and whatever, I'm like, I don't want to log into it. I know that it's bad. I know that there are some investors dumping 40 mil into it, and they're probably gonna pull it out, and everybody's gonna fucking cry. But I'm gonna be like, yo, I'm just here to play the game, and whatever's left of that coin, I can still, I don't know. And if it's like, instead of €1 or $1 for a fucking Rifter kill, you only get 1 cent for a Rifter kill. Still kind of cool, like.
Exactly.
I mean, as it is, you enjoyed EVE Online when there was no 1 cent for all of your kills. It was a kid just enjoying it for the kill,
Exactly,
even when there wasn't a value. But here's the thing, Baltrom, is there's not going to be a game for you to play if the vast majority of the people who've been attracted to the game to be the players for you to play against have been here trying to make money and then get out because there's no money to be made.
It won't be a cent for a kill. It'll be a thousandth of a cent. But that's beside the point. I agree that I actually quite like the game. myself. I think it's fun. I think it's from what I've played, it's more enjoyable on the day-to-day fly around bang bang than Eve is. But the reality is post rug pull, because I don't care what anyone says, it's coming, it's going to happen. Post rug pull, the game will either one or two things will happen. It will become a ghost town because all of the money chasers are gone and all of the crypto bros are gone because they'll be upset because they got ripped off. So it'll either become a ghost town and be borderline unplayable, or two, it will become a ghost town and CCP will pull it because it costs money to keep going. So it will
to say
die.
something about real Eve, to say something about regular Eve Online, the only thing Eve Online has going for it is that it has a functioning set of players fighting each other. That's the only thing it has going for it. If it didn't have that, there is nothing in the game worth logging in for. And so it's going to be the same with Frontier, and if this comes to pass, right? If there's no players, then there is nothing worth logging in for. No one's going to want to log in to this game to build some infrastructure just for themselves or anything like that. It needs to be a living world. That's all any proper MMO has going for it, is that it is a living world that is interesting to be in because it's a living world of players.
That's what I think
To be
as well.
fair, there are some of us weirdos that use it as a technical playground, then without interacting with other players.
I think if this new Eve is fun to play, right? Outside of the coin, right? Like, as I said at the very start, the first thing I said was, let's imagine the coin does not exist and the coin comes afterwards. If the game itself is fun and good, there's a reason for you to log in, and the reason is I want to log in and have some fun. Whatever that is for you, space hauling, building infrastructure, refueling infrastructure, PvPing people, or whatever it is you find fun in EVE Online. If you can find this fun in this new EVE, and if it's better than current EVE, because it's, as I said, like a very modernized take in many aspects, then there is reason to log in, and there's going to be players to play this game with, whether the coin exists or not. And the coin, as long as this game exists, I guess will exist, and the price is whatever it will be, after the dump and whatever happens, I think. I
suppose
don't know. I'm no
only-
expert. I have no fucking idea. I'm talking out of my ass.
No,
right?
I think you're absolutely right. It's just my only pushback against that is I don't think, as much as I genuinely do enjoy it more than Eve in terms of direct gameplay, I don't think it's good enough to, one, attract enough Eve players over to establish a healthy enough core, and two, it's not good enough for any normies that come across it to stick around. So I think once
Then again, we're in
you
an
have the
alpha,
crypto
right?
migration in and out, yeah, of course, there are things can change, but time's ticking, and I don't know how long they want to hold on before they go public and the investors want their money back.
And that was kind of my
It's
thing I was
definitely
thinking
not-
about with
Go on.
like the development time frame, because you talk about how it's alpha, whatever. Like, what's the time frame on this game? And is anybody actually going to care about blockchain anything when it does?
I know when it's going to be released, but I can't tell you
Answer the second
because
question.
I like not being banned.
What about the second?
Well,
does anybody gonna care about blockchain when it comes out?
Yes, because in the first one or two play tests that I played, most of the players were Eve players, and then it swapped very quickly to like quite literally fucking 50 to 100, maybe even not more to one Eve to crypto bros. They just appeared in mass. It is absolutely rife with people just chasing the coins. I mean, they had to make several special channels just to spam crypto bullshit.
Even in alpha right now, you're saying that the experience is that it is overwhelmingly people who think they can make money from it rather than people who are treating it as a game to play.
Yes, it is absolutely stuffed with crypto bros spamming GM, 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 wag me, GM, 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 GM. And sending you fucking 15 different Discord invites to various other rug pools so you can get scammed even harder. It is just full of the crypto bots. And I mean, it's full of the crypto bots even on bloody social media. Every tweet, every Facebook post that goes out about Frontier, it just has crypto bots replying and maybe one or two random actual humans saying, this looks shit. Like, the
I
real
mean,
human beings are not going to play it, is the unfortunate reality.
It's sort of just a sea of people where they're looking to make money from this, but the pool of customers is virtually non-existent so far.
Yeah, it's an obscure, difficult sci-fi MMO, which kind of describes Eve, and Eve has about 30,000 players, and not necessarily because there's anything inherently wrong with Eve. We can argue about that another time. It's because it's a niche. It's a very, very small niche, and it's just not. It's not a miraculous, amazing game. It's a good game, but it's not, bust a nut because it's so fucking incredible. And the crypto side, like we kind of brightly touched on, people are not going to give a shit. Most people don't really understand or care about crypto, and this game is not going to be the game that makes them understand and care about crypto. And therefore, your target audience of actual human beings and not people with ETH in their Twitter handle is very, very small. It's a subset of the fucking Eve community, essentially. So
I mean,
yeah, the number of humans is going to be minor.
This describes the insanity around the opening era of NFTs, in that apparently the entire premise of NFTs was somebody else will want this in the future at a higher price, because somebody else in the future will want this at a higher price, because somebody else in the future will want this at a higher price, because somebody else in the future will want this at a higher price, and none of that occurred beyond the first level.
The initial Beeple sale that made NFTs like mainstream and popular was a scam, right? The whole big thing was that this artist, I don't even know what he drew, but he drew some art, and obviously very, very paraphrased, but the gist of it is he did some art, turned them into NFTs. This was when NFTs, like, nobody had heard of them, essentially. Turned them into NFTs.
They had been a thing for years before.
Oh yeah, it's a technological thing. It's been a long time.
Before the Bored Ape Yacht Club, for example. Yeah.
So turned them into NFTs, and then some guy comes along and buys them for $1 gazillion. That makes headlines, and all of a sudden NFTs are, your fucking nan's trying to buy one. Only because that is the pivotal moment in the world of NFTs. The reality is, through a bunch of backdoors, the guy who bought them was actually just a rich friend of the artist who gave him the money back. So it was not even a real sale.
That's
it
really
was all
cool.
built on lies. It's all a fucking scam. It's all a lie.
I think the
It
Mittani
does
never quit
nothing
the game.
useful.
You think what, Baltrom, sorry?
I think the Mittani never quit the game. I think that's a lie too.
Yeah. And Tupac still been producing rap underground.
Yeah.
I am Tupac.
That's why you turned the camera out, so we can't see you anymore, so we can't figure it out.
You're in my pocket and I had to go for a
It's really,
piss.
I think, hard to talk about what's going to happen with this game. I think apart from like the clear crash of the coin that is very central to this game.
When
it comes to the gameplay, I think it's very fun. It's like playing Eve except better. Like when it comes to the raw gameplay, right? It's like Eve but better. Even though they took like the overview out now, and I fucking hate that, right? Like I don't know.
You're thinking in old Eve terms. It's a different kind of combat. I'm gonna stick up for the game here for the
The thing is, when I played first and I had the most fun, it was like a very modern Eve, right? It still had an overview as well. Right now, there's no overview, right? Maybe they put it back in now. I don't know, but there was no overview for some time now, and it was fucking impossible to play for me at least, because I'm a small brain. But apart from that, the actual gameplay, when it comes to the stuff I like to do, which is find and kill other ships, was much more enjoyable and felt much more rewarding. I don't know if it felt much more rewarding, but it felt super enjoyable, right?
Here's a question, Baltrom. Did it just feel novelty and new?
It felt.
Would you get this? Would you be enjoying regular real Eve more if CCP just did a far, far faster and better job of constant rebalances to make it be so that in Eve, the smart people coming up with the new technologies and techniques and jutsus are the ones who win at the game. Would you just have more fun in Eve if it moved faster?
I don't know, because I think that, like, I've played Eve so long that I see so many flaws in it that they're able to take out here, where I'm like, yes, maybe I would probably enjoy Eve more if the devs would actually spend their money on Eve and not like on the 5th fucking shooter that's gonna fail in a row, okay? But at the same time, it felt different, right? It's not like playing Eve that's being updated. It's like, as I said, playing Eve that didn't come out in 2004, but in 2025, right? Like,
Okay.
yeah, I don't
Well,
know.
it was that, but yeah, it's kind of a blessing and a curse that they obviously want to make it more of its own game and try and move away from the direct Eve comparisons, which has resulted in, yeah, it becoming more of a different game and not just a fresher Eve. Obviously, the good thing that's coming from that is some of the technical improvements are making their way over to Eve. Like, from what I've heard, Frontier runs entirely on AWS. There is no like big TQ server in London somewhere. It's entirely on AWS, which gives them all kinds of different abilities. Can make things a bit more scalable, a bit more reliable. Excusing the fucking chat problems that we had, but yeah, there's a lot of technical impressiveness that's happened in terms of improving Eve, and some of that is being backported slowly. So in the good ending for me is that Frontier comes out, fails, but anything good learned from it comes over to Eve, and it doesn't sink CCP. But I feel like the reality is,
But can they
Frontier.
put it into Eve? Can they put a better tick rate into Eve? Can they put, like, I don't know,
I don't know
line
whether
of
they'll do some
sight
of
into
those
Eve?
things.
Or, like, what I really enjoyed is, like, the fuel system. I thought that was, like, super annoying at first, but then after 2 days, I was like, oh, this is actually pretty fucking cool, right? And then,
It's
like,
a different game, though. It's like
yeah, but
looking.
that's
It's
what I
like
mean,
looking
right?
at
Like, all of
Elite
these,
Dangerous and being like, "Why can't we have this as Eve?"
right?
It's
It's
like
what
it's
I'm
a very
saying, like,
different game.
I don't think you can like engineer whatever you learn here into Eve, because whatever makes this new is based around like, this is not code from 2004, right?
Not Eve.
I'm talking purely just nerd shit on the back end, essentially. That doesn't necessarily mean too much to the average player just flying around pressing F1. But if I was to summarize how I feel like this game's going to go, and this is the reason why, particularly when it first came out, well, not came out, but you know what I mean, when it first was being discussed, I really, really rallied against it. Is to reference myself earlier, I feel like this is CCP's reputation being laundered, and my worry is I love Eve very much. I spent a lot of time on it. I spent a lot of time, part of my life on it, and actually I demoed some of the work that I'd done, including alliance incorporation management, in my previous interview, and that's how I got my latest job. So Eve has been a huge part of my life, and I have a lot of care for it. And my concern is CCP's reputation gets laundered, CCP's reputation goes down the toilet, and that causes a cascade of funding, etc., being pulled from CCP, and then very quickly the death of Eve. And I know Eve is dying, but I see a very, very clear path to actually kill CCP as a company by falling for this dumb shit. That's what I'm worried about. That's what scares me with this.
A word of warning
Sounds like a rational
as to
fear,
what this could
honestly.
be. Yeah,
I
guys.
was like, what?
A rational fear, not irrational.
Irrational.
Yeah. Guys, it's probably time for us to just sort of, maybe try and sum up how we're feeling about this project. I mean,
we already lost
Correctly in
CCP
the
Rise
ship.
over it.
You lost
So-
CCP Rise over it? What do you mean?
Secrets. Long story short, CCP Rise and Hilmar were the original sort of power couple behind this. And my understanding is at some point they fell out and Rise moved over to that medieval Icelandic developed MMO. I might be completely wrong, so I apologise if that's putting words in either of the fine folks' mouths. With your respect, but that's the rumour mill that I've heard.
Okay, well, Baltrom, I'm going to come to you next, but I might sort of give my final feelings about this as being from a point of view of critical mass, right? And a sandbox MMO without a critical mass of players will just die before it has a chance to be truly born, and that's going to be that's a huge challenge for a you can make money through crypto MMO. That's one of the main reasons that people typically don't really develop sandbox MMOs anymore, is because you just can't get it kickstarted. You can't get the engine turning over with players for it to then sustain its own story, right? I feel like this game is going to have that problem, but on top of that, it's also going to be a game that has an overwhelming number of sellers who are trying to run the game in a way for them to make profit rather than play the game. I think it's a double whammy that is going to stop this thing from living. Baltrom, what do you reckon your final, thoughts tonight are about how you feel about Frontier?
I want to be optimistic, right? I think there's so many reasons to be pessimistic about this. But as somebody who used to love Eve and spend his life in Eve and then start to hate it and quit it, I want to believe that there's a chance that there is potentially an Eve out there in the future that I can play and enjoy. So I want to be optimistic, and I think maybe, the gameplay actually, like piloting my ship, PvPing other players, feels really good. And if they manage to make everything else around it at least work, it could be a game. And when you said you need a certain amount of people, like critical mass, to get it running, I'm pretty sure Eve in 2004 had like fucking 2 dudes, like probably Benzman and some other guy. Just 2 guys log in and play, and then out of that, slowly, the cogs started turning, and we have Eve today. Which is on a downward spiral, but apart from that, like, it didn't start with like, wow, we launched on Steam, 1.4 million players in the first week. It was like, I don't know, 10 Icelandic dudes logging in and flying spaceships in space, And I want to be optimistic, so I want to believe that maybe there is a game out there that can be fun to play. What happens to the coin? 100% something bad will happen, but maybe the game can still run and be fun.
Thank you. Spod, any final words from your darkened room with no electricity? Apparently not.
Doctor?
Redline.
The ghost
How
of
did
Dr.
you
Spodumain.
start? How did you feel when you started the show today compared to how you feel about Frontier now?
So what was the question? I missed it.
Spod, what any final thoughts or anything you want to sum up before we sign off for the evening?
Oh, the whole thing is a stupid joke, and it's just no is the answer. Dumbest
Redline.
idea that CCP have had in a long time.
Redline,
big
how you feeling?
haters. Big haters around here. No, I think that Spot is right. I feel like it is gonna be economically in shambles in the first. But I also think that if it is entertaining to play, is fun, and you can also engage with the people who are scaling horizontally, that could create a fun game out of it. It does suck having to pay to play it, and I feel like the gameplay in it you probably get elsewhere. Just pay once and you can play Elite Dangerous if you want to, something like that. But as long as they have like a unique offering, I don't see any reason it wouldn't be successful in some regard, at least a little bit.
Okay. Well, I think that we've brought out a lot of good points about this here. I didn't know, what this gameplay was like, and okay, I came into this being anti and I'm going out of it being anti, but the gameplay mechanics, it does sound like it has the potential to be a good game if we forget all of the other stuff.
That's okay. If we forget all of the other stuff, nice one. Well, I really enjoyed that topic. On
Something
that
maybe.
note,
Okay, whatever.
no, go ahead. Go ahead.
No. Something that actually made me want to play the game or want to try it out is when I saw like CCP introducing like who works on it, and they introduced a role that I think is missing in current Eve, which is like I can't remember the exact terminology, but like financial market experts economist from the Bank of Iceland or whatever.
Yeah,
And I was
but
like,
what
oh,
if he's there to tell them how to make as much money as possible and then run away?
well, his described role was at least to make sure the economy does work, right? At least the in-game economy, the crypto is probably outside of his control anyways, obviously, but the in-game economy.
That's pretty big though.
Right? And I thought like, oh, that is pretty cool, because I remember EVE was really good when they used to have these guys, and then they fired them because they needed to save money, and then suddenly, like we had the most inflation and it's still rising, and now they have this in this game. I'm like, oh, maybe that's kind of cool, they're putting people in there that know what the fuck they're doing, maybe.
I'll see. There's only one way to find out, and that's to wait until the unannounced release date of Eve Frontier and play it for yourself. But on that note, I think we are going to close out the show. I've got a raid target in mind. It's the gentleman, he's playing the video game. Not sure what he's doing, but he's a new player, still learning. So, I mean, maybe we can hit him with some fun times, some purple hearts, like we do in the Twitch chat, or something like that. And then this is the part where everybody waves at the camera, and we say goodbye. See you next week.
Thank
Bye.
you for joining us, everyone. We'll see you
Next
soon.
week. And I'm sending everybody away now. Thanks for watching.